Hello, little dreamers. Welcome to Realms of Possibility. Tonight, snuggle in close and let's go on a beautiful, peaceful adventure with one of God's bravest prophets, Elijah. He was from Tishbe in Gilead and lived in a dry and dusty land with tall mountains, wide deserts, and skies that stretched as far as little eyes could see. Elijah loved God with all his heart, but sometimes being brave and telling the truth wasn't easy. This story is filled with birds that bring food, a kind mother and her little boy, and a miracle that reminds us how powerful and loving God truly is. So, close your eyes, snuggle in, and let your imagination take you to a warm desert land where the skies were blue, the sun was bright, and the rain stopped falling. Are you ready to hear how Elijah listened to God even when things got really hard? Let's begin. A long time ago, there was a land called Israel. But the people had started to forget about God. They were worshiping pretend gods and doing unkind things. This made God very sad. So, he sent a prophet, Elijah, to tell the king a very important message. The king's name was Ahab. Elijah stood tall and brave before the king and said, "There will be no rain, not even a single drop. No rain until God says so." Then Elijah quietly left the palace. The sky stayed sunny, the ground became dusty, and little streams dried up. People looked up at the sky and waited, but no rain came. God told Elijah, "Go and hide by the brook of Cherith. You will drink from the brook, and I will send ravens to bring you food." So Elijah followed God's voice. He walked until he found a small, sparkling brook that trickled through the valley. Every morning and evening, ravens swooped down from the sky, flapping their wings. In their beaks, they carried bread and meat for Elijah. Isn't that amazing? Birds were the delivery team. Elijah drank fresh water from the brook and smiled. God was taking care of him in such a special way. But one morning, Elijah walked to the brook and drip, drop, nothing. The water had dried up. No rain meant no more brook. Elijah looked up to heaven. "What now, Lord?" God said, "Elijah, go to a town called Zarephath. There's a widow there who will give you food." So Elijah walked and walked under the hot sun, his feet dusty, his tummy a little hungry. Finally, at the town gate, he saw a woman gathering sticks. Her eyes looked tired, but kind. Elijah called out gently, "Please, can you bring me a little water and maybe a small piece of bread?" The woman looked at Elijah and said softly, "I only have a tiny bit of flour and a little oil left. I was going to make one last meal for me and my son. Then we will have nothing." Elijah smiled kindly and said, "Don't be afraid. Make a small cake for me first. Then make some for you and your son. God says your jar of flour and jug of oil won't run out until rain comes again." The woman paused, then nodded. Something about Elijah made her feel peaceful. She went home, poured the last bit of flour and oil into a bowl, baked the little cake, and gave it to Elijah. Then she turned to her jars, and guess what? They weren't empty anymore. The flour jar had more inside, and the oil jug had more to pour. Every day the jars were refilled. God was keeping his promise. The woman's little boy laughed and played. He loved having Elijah around. But one day, the boy got very sick. He became weaker and weaker until he stopped breathing. The mother cried out, "Why did this happen? Did I do something wrong?" Elijah gently picked up the little boy. He carried him upstairs to his room, laid him on the bed, and prayed with all his heart, "Lord, please bring this child back to life." He prayed once, twice, 3 times, and then the boy opened his eyes. Elijah smiled and carried him downstairs. "Your son is alive," he said. The mother wept tears of joy and hugged her boy tightly. "Now I know," she whispered, "that you are truly a man of God, and the Lord speaks through you." Even when the rain stopped and the food was almost gone, Elijah trusted God, and God never forgot him. Not when he was by the brook, not in a stranger's home, not in sadness, and not in joy. And guess what, little dreamer? God takes care of you too. He sees you when you're happy. He holds you when you're sad. He hears your prayers, even the small ones whispered at bedtime. Moral of the story: trust God, even when things feel empty or hard. Be kind and share, like the widow did. Pray to God, because He listens and cares deeply. Believe in God's miracles, because He still does wonderful things. If you enjoyed this beautiful story of God's love and miracles, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Realms of Possibility. Next week, there's a new adventure waiting for you. Elijah's journey, fire, whispers, and chariots of heaven. Good night, precious one, and remember, God is always near.